Good evening, and welcome back to Deep Sleep Science. Tonight, we'll explore something your sleeping mind already understands. Even if your waking self has yet to catch up, somewhere inside you, there are experiences still waiting to be fully felt. Memories carrying weight your conscious hours cannot quite lift. Your dreams know where these tender places live. They return to them not to reopen anything, but because something within you is ready, perhaps more ready than you realize, to let those old aches finally soften. You'll discover what draws your dreaming mind back to unhealed places, and why that return is one of the kindest things your brain does for you. Wherever you happen to be resting tonight, perhaps curled beneath blankets or settled into a familiar chair, let this be a space where nothing is required of you. We'll wander through 100 healing science facts about why dreams revisit what still needs tending, from the wisdom your unconscious holds about your readiness, to the quiet alchemy that transforms old pain into something you can carry more gently, to the ancient rhythms connecting your nightly dreams to something far larger than yourself. This gentle exploration builds pathways between searching minds. A soft subscribe, a quiet like, or sharing a thought in the comments creates a bridge for another sleepy soul to find this peaceful corner. One small gesture, one resting mind at a time. Your presence here already matters. Let your shoulders release whatever they've been holding. Feel the gentle pull of gravity cradling your body exactly where it rests. You don't need to remember any of this. You don't need to stay awake for all of it. Let these words drift past you like clouds reflected in still water, touching everything and holding nothing. Close your eyes if they're ready. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out even more slowly. You're safe here. And now, we begin. Your unconscious mind possesses a kind of internal compass that knows precisely when you have gathered enough strength to look at what still hurts. Research in clinical psychology reveals that dream content intensity correlates closely with your available psychological resources, increasing when coping capacity grows and softening when you are already stretched thin. This self-regulating wisdom means your dreaming mind will not flood you with more than you can hold. If healing dreams have recently grown more vivid or direct, this often signals that something within you has expanded. A new steadiness, a deeper trust, a wider capacity to feel without shattering. Your dreams gauge your readiness the way soil gauges the season before, allowing seeds to break open. Nothing surfaces until conditions are right, until the ground within you is soft enough to receive what emerges. Some wounds leave marks that cannot be erased. Losses where the before and after remain permanently different. Healing in these cases does not mean returning to who you were. It means weaving the irreversible change into a self that includes rather than denies what happened. Studies on post-traumatic growth demonstrate that people can develop capacities they never possessed before their suffering. Deeper empathy, broader perspective, fiercer appreciation for what remains. Your dreams participate in this integration by helping you sit with what cannot be undone, finding threads of meaning in fabric that was torn. These are not dreams of restoration, but dreams of transformation, where broken pieces arrange themselves into mosaics more complex and beautiful than the original smooth surface ever was. Like a river that encounters a fallen tree and simply widens around it. Your psyche finds new channels for flowing forward. You hold the only key that fits the lock of your own dream language. While researchers and therapists can offer frameworks, the specific images, people, and landscapes appearing in your sleep carry meanings written in a dialect only you can fully read. Studies on dream interpretation effectiveness confirm that personal associations consistently outperform universal symbolic dictionaries. The ocean in your dream might whisper comfort because childhood summers smelled of salt, while for someone else it might echo drowning fear. Your healing dreams speak in the vocabulary of your lived experience, using references drawn from your particular history of joy and hurt. Trust what resonates in your body when you recall a dream. That felt sense is your interpretive compass, more accurate than any external analysis. Like reading a letter written in your own handwriting from years ago, the meaning reveals itself through recognition. Writing your dreams down upon waking creates a bridge between worlds that otherwise remain strangers. Research on dream journaling shows that translating nocturnal experience into written language activates integration pathways that dreaming alone cannot reach. The act of choosing words for wordless experiences, deciding what matters, organizing chaos into narrative. All of this engages brain regions that complement the emotional processing sleep already provided. Over weeks and months, a dream journal reveals patterns invisible in single entries, recurring symbols that track your healing arc, emotional tones that shift as integration deepens. Those few quiet minutes each morning, pen moving across paper while dream fragments still cling to consciousness, can dramatically amplify the healing value of what your sleeping mind has offered. Like pressing flowers between pages, the writing preserves what would otherwise evaporate in daylight. Certain healing dreams carry a quality of urgency, not anxious urgency, but purposeful clarity, as though your sleeping mind is saying there is something you need to do while awake. Research on action-oriented dreams demonstrates that when people follow through on dream imperatives, setting a boundary revealed in dream, speaking a truth that surfaced in sleep, offering forgiveness that became possible in a dream encounter, lasting relief and resolution typically follow. Not every dream requires waking action, but learning to recognize when dreams are calling you towards specific steps completes a circuit that dreaming alone cannot close. Your dreams sometimes serve as scouts, venturing ahead into emotional territory and returning with intelligence about what your waking self needs to do next. Like a tide that deposits something precious on the shore, the gift only becomes yours when you bend down and pick it up. Sharing a dream with someone who listens with genuine curiosity adds a dimension of healing that private reflection cannot replicate. Research in social psychology shows that narrating emotional experiences to empathetic witnesses reduces their emotional weight and deepens integration. When you describe a healing dream to a therapist, a trusted friend, or even a supportive stranger in a dream group, their witnessing validates your inner experience and often reveals angles you could not see alone. Their questions open doors within the dream you walked past. Their compassion meets your vulnerability in ways that dissolve shame's isolation. Some therapeutic traditions center the practice of communal dream sharing precisely because healing deepens when carried between minds rather than held in solitary silence. Like a single candle that lights another without losing its own flame. Sharing your dream extends its warmth. Your dream life transforms as you transform, serving as a living mirror of your psychological evolution. Research tracking dream content over extended periods reveals unmistakable developmental patterns. Where early healing dreams might be chaotic and overwhelming, later dreams addressing the same wound often become more organized, less threatening, sometimes even peaceful or resolution-oriented. Someone who spent years fleeing in nightmares might begin standing still. Someone who always dreamed alone might start encountering supportive figures. These shifts in dream texture reflect genuine internal change, growth that might be invisible in the rush of daily life, but becomes unmistakable when you compare dreams from different seasons of your healing journey. Like tree rings that record wet years and dry years, your dream patterns inscribe your transformation in layers only patience can read. You can gently influence what your dreams address by bringing a question, a wound, or a relationship to mind before sleep. Research on dream incubation, the practice of intentionally focusing on a topic before drifting off, shows that people frequently dream about what occupied their final waking thoughts. This is not about controlling dreams, but about collaborating with your dreaming mind, suggesting priorities rather than dictating content. You might write briefly about an unresolved feeling before bed, or simply hold an intention. Tonight, I am open to understanding what this old ache is trying to teach me. Your unconscious mind often accepts these invitations, incorporating your conscious question into its nightly processing, like planting a seed in the evening and finding a sprout by morning. You participate in directing where healing attention flows without forcing what blooms. The quality of your physical sleep directly shapes how effectively your dreams can perform their healing work. Research demonstrates that fragmented sleep, substances that suppress REM architecture, chronic pain, and irregular schedules all diminish the brain's capacity for emotional dream processing. Protecting your sleep environment, maintaining consistent rhythms, and addressing sleep disorders when they arise are not mere lifestyle improvements, but acts of supporting the delicate neurological conditions your healing dreams require. Every night of deep, uninterrupted sleep gives your dreaming mind fuller access to the emotional material waiting for attention. Your body and psyche heal as one integrated system, neither capable of full restoration without the other's cooperation. Like a garden that needs both sunlight and soil to produce anything, your healing needs both bodily rest and dream space, working in concert. Healing through dreams unfolds across timescales that rarely match our preference for quick resolution. Research on trauma recovery emphasizes that genuine integration follows natural rhythms that compress poorly under pressure. Each night's dreams contribute small increments to larger healing arcs that span weeks, months, sometimes years of gradual softening. A single wound might be visited hundreds of times across hundreds of nights, each visit removing a thin layer of emotional charge, building one new association, integrating one additional fragment. This unhurried pace serves a purpose your impatient waking mind might resist, but your deeper wisdom understands. Gradual processing prevents overwhelm, allows new understandings to stabilize before the next layer is revealed, and respects the true complexity of what was wounded. Like stone shaped by water over centuries, the slowness is not inefficiency but the very mechanism of lasting change. Perhaps the most profound truth your healing dreams carry is this: their very existence proves that something within you has not given up on wholeness. Research in humanistic psychology identifies an inherent drive within human beings toward growth, integration, and self-actualization that persists even through severe suffering. Your healing dreams are this drive made visible in the theater of sleep, your psyche's refusal to abandon you to fragmented pain. The fact that you dream about old wounds, even when those dreams feel heavy or confusing, demonstrates that your internal healing systems remain active and committed. Nothing truly shattered attempts its own repair. Your healing dreams are evidence of resilience you may not yet fully recognize. Proof that somewhere beneath whatever exhaustion or doubt you carry, a persistent kindness within you keeps working on your behalf. Like roots continuing to grow in winter soil when everything above ground appears lifeless, your healing persists in the dark. One essential dimension of healing involves seeing your experience from angles your original perspective could not reach. Dreams excel at providing these alternative viewpoints, showing you the same wound from the other person's position, from a future self looking back, from a cosmic distance where personal tragedy reveals itself as part of universal patterns. Research on cognitive flexibility shows that the ability to shift perspectives reduces emotional reactivity and builds psychological resilience. When dreams reveal an abuser's own wounds without excusing their actions, or place your specific loss within the vast context of human impermanence, they are offering medicine that single perspective thinking cannot provide. These perspective shifts permanently change your relationship to what happened, not by denying it, but by expanding the frame around it. Like climbing a hill and suddenly seeing the path that confused you from below as part of a coherent landscape. Dream perspectives reveal the sense hidden within what felt senseless. Healing rarely travels in straight lines, and your dream journey will include regressions, plateaux, and unexpected leaps. Research on therapeutic change shows that psychological recovery follows spiral rather than linear paths, revisiting familiar territory from progressively higher vantage points. You might experience months of integrative, gentle dreams followed by a sudden return of vivid nightmares about wounds you thought were resolved. This is not failure or loss of progress, but the natural rhythm of deepening work. Your psyche circling back to old material with new resources developed since the last visit. A wound processed in your 20s might surface again in your 40s. Not because earlier healing was insufficient, but because your older self brings wisdom that allows yet deeper integration. Trust the spiral, knowing that each return carries you further even when the scenery looks familiar. Like climbing a winding mountain path that seems to double back on itself. Every curve still carries you higher. There are aspects of your inner life that belong only to you, and your dreams honor this sovereignty. While sharing dreams can deepen healing, you retain absolute authority over what remains private. Research on psychological boundaries emphasizes that control over personal information, including the intimate content of dreams, supports healthy autonomy and self-trust. Some dreams are too raw, too tender, too freshly emerged to survive the light of others' analysis. Some dreams need time to settle within you before words can carry them outward. Honoring your instinct about what to share and what to protect is itself a healing act, a practice of self-respect that the therapeutic process serves rather than overrides. Your dream's healing power does not depend on external validation or interpretation. Like the deepest roots of an ancient tree that never see sunlight yet anchor everything, some healing work simply belongs to the dark. Suffering can feel meaningless, random, cruel, but something within humans persistently seeks to understand why and what for. Dreams participate in this meaning-making by connecting your specific pain to larger narratives, existential themes, archetypal patterns, philosophical frameworks that lift individual suffering into shared human experience. Research on post-traumatic growth identifies meaning-making as one of the strongest predictors of positive adaptation after adversity. When dreams frame your loss within cycles of death and renewal, when they connect your particular betrayal to the universal story of trust and vulnerability, when they place your loneliness within the vast context of human longing for connection, they are offering something analytical thinking rarely achieves. This does not erase what happened, but transforms it from isolating aberration to recognized chapter in the oldest story ever told. Like a single thread that discovers it belongs to a tapestry, your pain gains dimension when dreams weave it into something larger. Many wounds involve people who caused harm, and healing inevitably encounters questions about forgiveness that resist simple answers. Dreams explore these questions with a nuance your waking mind might not allow, presenting encounters where hatred coexists with understanding, where accountability does not require hatred, where releasing resentment does not mean condoning what occurred. Research reveals that forgiveness unfolds as a layered process, rather than a single decisive act. And dreams mirror this complexity faithfully. You might dream about genuine reconciliation with someone you consciously refuse to forgive, or discover persistent anger towards someone you believed you had released. These apparent contradictions reflect the authentic multidimensionality of healing wounded relationships. Your dreams do not dictate whether forgiveness is appropriate, but open a laboratory where different configurations of mercy and justice can be tested without real-world stakes. Like light passing through a prism and separating into colors that were always present but invisible. Dream encounters with those who hurt you reveal layers of feeling too intertwined for waking thought to separate. Within every person exist qualities that have been exiled from conscious identity, aspects deemed unacceptable by family, culture, or painful experience. Jungian psychology names these rejected parts the shadow, and dreams serve as the primary arena where shadow material seeks reintegration. You might encounter dream figures who embody everything you have trained yourself not to be. Characters who express the anger you suppress, the ambition you deny, the vulnerability you hide, the wildness you tamed. Research on psychological wholeness emphasizes that health requires including rather than excluding these uncomfortable self-aspects. The dream encounters often feel threatening precisely because reintegration challenges the carefully constructed self-image that kept you safe but incomplete. Each time you face a shadow figure in dreams without being destroyed, you expand the territory of who you are allowed to be. Like a house that discovers sealed rooms it forgot existed, your psyche gradually opens doors that shame or fear once locked. Some of the wounds you carry did not originate in your own lifetime, but traveled through your family line like heirlooms no one chose to inherit. Research in epigenetics and intergenerational trauma demonstrates that severely stressful experiences can alter gene expression in ways that influence the physiology and psychology of subsequent generations. Your unexplained anxiety, your disproportionate grief responses, your body's startled reactions to things that never personally harmed you. These might connect to traumas your parents or grandparents absorbed. Dreams sometimes access this ancestral dimension directly, presenting historical scenes you never witnessed, introducing figures who feel simultaneously strange and intimately familiar, revealing family patterns that span generations. Your individual healing work might serve purposes larger than your own life, interrupting cycles that have repeated through decades of inherited pain. Like a river that finally clears after the upstream source of pollution is addressed, Your healing may purify waters that flow forward into generations you will never meet. Working with dreams through the body rather than the intellect alone opens channels of integration that thought cannot reach. Research in somatic psychology shows that trauma is frequently stored as sensation, tension, and movement patterns rather than narrative memory. And dreams naturally engage these bodily dimensions. After waking from a healing dream, you might explore where the dream still lives in your physical body. What posture or gesture captures its essence? What movement wants to complete itself? These somatic inquiries access the layer of experience where much emotional wounding is actually encoded. Beneath words, beneath concepts, in the tissue itself. Engaging your dreams through breath, movement, and physical awareness creates pathways between sleeping and waking, healing that purely cognitive reflection cannot replicate. Like learning a language not through grammar books, but through song and dance. Somatic dream work teaches your body what your mind alone cannot fully translate. Healing and creative expression share a common root. Both involve drawing unconscious material into form, giving shape to what previously existed only as formless feeling. Research confirms that people engaged in creative practices report more vivid dream recall and deeper engagement with dream content. When you paint an image from a healing dream, write a poem that captures its emotional tone, compose music that echoes its atmosphere, or simply describe it in language more beautiful than clinical. You extend the healing work beyond sleep's boundary. The dream provides raw ore. Your creative engagement refines it into something transmuted, something that exists outside you now, something you can hold at arm's length and contemplate. This creative extension deepens integration and sometimes reaches others who recognize their own healing in what you've made. Like an underground spring that finally breaks the surface and becomes a visible stream. Creative engagement with dreams gives hidden healing a form the world can witness. Sometimes, quietly and without dramatic announcement. Intense healing dreams simply stop. Dream recall diminishes, or the dreams that remain feel ordinary, unremarkable. Research shows that recurring healing dreams typically cease when the underlying emotional work reaches a natural completion point. This fading is not abandonment or repression, but integration so thorough that the wound no longer generates the emotional signal that attracted dream attention. Alternatively, your psyche may simply need rest from intensive processing. A fallow period where other dream functions, memory organization, creative incubation, simple mental housekeeping, take priority. If more healing work remains, the dreams will return when conditions realign. The silence between healing dream seasons is itself part of the rhythm, as necessary as the space between musical notes. Like the pause after exhaling before the next breath draws itself in. The cessation of healing dreams creates space for what comes next to arrive in its own time. Becoming aware that you are dreaming while still inside the dream opens extraordinary possibilities for conscious participation in healing work. Research on lucid dreaming demonstrates that this awareness, when cultivated, allows people to intentionally face frightening figures, transform nightmarish scenarios, seek out wounded parts of themselves, and offer compassion directly, or practice emotional responses that feel impossible while awake. The combination of dream intensity and conscious agency creates a unique therapeutic environment, full emotional engagement with deliberate choice. Studies in lucid dream therapy for trauma show reduced nightmare frequency and improved daytime emotional regulation among those who develop this capacity. Not everyone achieves lucidity spontaneously, but the skill can be cultivated through consistent practice. And for those who do, it becomes a bridge between the unconscious healing wisdom of dreams and the intentional healing choices of waking life. Like learning to swim in a river that was previously carrying you wherever it chose. Lucidity gives you partnership with currents that were always flowing. Throughout human history and across every culture, people have gathered in circles to share what they dreamed. Modern dream groups continue this ancient practice, creating spaces where dreams are spoken aloud and received with curiosity rather than judgment. Research on communal dream sharing shows that participants experience enhanced recall, deeper understanding, and accelerated healing compared to solitary dream work. Hearing others describe similar themes, encountering their nightmares and beautiful dreams alongside your own, normalizes the strangeness of inner life and dissolves the isolation that wounds create. The group becomes a collective witness, confirming that your experience is real, meaningful, and shared. Whether in formal therapeutic settings or informal gatherings of trusted friends, the practice of speaking your dreams into the air between you and other living humans activates social healing mechanisms that individual processing cannot reach, like voices joining in a song that none could sing alone. Communal dream sharing creates harmonies that individual dreaming only hints at. Perhaps the deepest truth beneath all others is that your healing dreams represent your psyche's most persistent and intimate expression of self-care. Every night, whether you remember or not, whether you understand or not, something within you reviews your emotional landscape, identifies what still aches, and attempts to bring comfort and integration. Research in humanistic and transpersonal psychology describes this as an inherent organismic drive toward wholeness. As fundamental as the body's drive to heal a wound, your nightmares are not punishment, but persistence. Your recurring themes are not failure, but devotion. Your confusing imagery is not randomness, but a dialect of love your waking mind is still learning to speak. This internal commitment operates whether you believe in it, cooperate with it, or even acknowledge it. Something within you loves you enough to keep showing truth. Keep working toward integration. Keep refusing to let you remain fragmented, like a lighthouse that keeps turning through every storm. Indifferent to whether ships are watching, your healing dreams continue their devoted rotation. Even now, in this very moment of listening, your mind is beginning to process what you have heard, weaving these understandings into the fabric of what you already know about yourself. Research confirms that the intention to heal, the willingness to explore wounded places, the simple act of turning toward rather than away from what hurts, these alone activate neurological pathways associated with emotional integration. You are not waiting for healing to begin. It is already underway, has been underway since before tonight, and will continue long after these words dissolve into silence. Your presence here is itself evidence of the same persistent drive your dreams express, a longing for wholeness that brought you to this quiet corner and held you here. Like seeds that begin germinating the moment moisture touches them. Your healing responds to attention the way life responds to rain. Let yourself settle more deeply now as we rest between these first truths and what follows. Notice where your body meets whatever surface holds you. The points of contact, the gentle pressure, the warmth gathering where skin meets fabric. Your body has been processing while you listened, quieting systems that daylight keeps vigilant. Feel the weight of your hands. Simply notice them, wherever they rest. Fingers softening, palms open or gently curled. Each exhale carries something away that you no longer need. You do not have to name it. Your breath knows what to release. Somewhere deep in your chest, beneath thought, beneath worry, there is a rhythm that has never once forgotten how to continue. Your heart has been beating since before you had words for anything. Trust that rhythm now. It knows more about healing than any sentence ever spoken. We continue gently. Your brain assigns emotional weight to experiences through a sophisticated tagging system centered in the amygdala. And these tags determine what your dreams will prioritize for processing. Research in affective neuroscience demonstrates that experiences carrying strong emotional charge, whether terror, grief, shame, unexpressed tenderness, or bewildering joy, receive neurological markers that say this requires attention during sleep. The stronger the unresolved emotion, the higher the priority in your dream processing queue. This is why your dreams skip over the mundane texture of ordinary days and instead return to the conversation that stung, the goodbye that felt incomplete, the moment of vulnerability that still echoes. Your brain's emotional tagging operates beneath conscious awareness, silently cataloging what matters most for your psychological equilibrium and scheduling it for nighttime attention. Like a librarian who knows exactly which books need repair and pulls them from the shelves each evening, your amygdala ensures the most important emotional material receives processing first. Your sleeping brain possesses a remarkable capacity for detecting patterns across your entire life history. Connections your waking analytical mind would never make, because it is constrained by linear logic and chronological thinking. During sleep, the brain freely associates experiences separated by decades, linking a present conflict to a childhood dynamic, connecting a current fear to an ancient loss, revealing that what feels like a new problem is actually the latest expression of a very old pattern. Research on memory consolidation during sleep confirms that the brain actively constructs new associative bridges between temporally distant memories that share emotional themes. These pattern recognition dreams feel strange precisely because they mix timelines, placing your adult self in childhood settings or blending figures from entirely different life chapters into single scenes. The confusion is purposeful. Your dreaming mind is showing you the emotional thread connecting experiences your waking mind keeps in separate compartments. Like an archaeologist who discovers that artifacts from different centuries share a common origin, your dreams uncover hidden connections that reveal the deeper architecture of your emotional life. When conscious thought and spoken language fail to capture what your body knows, your dreams step in with imagery that speaks directly to somatic experience. Research in psychosomatic medicine reveals that unprocessed emotional material frequently manifests as physical symptoms: chronic tension patterns, unexplained pain, digestive disruption, and these bodily experiences reliably appear in dream content. You might dream of carrying impossibly heavy objects when unexpressed responsibility weighs on your shoulders. You might dream of struggling to breathe when grief has constricted your chest for months without acknowledgement. Your body communicates its emotional burden to your dreaming mind through a channel that bypasses verbal processing entirely, creating images that represent felt experience with startling precision. Recent research on trauma and somatic storage confirms that emotional release at the bodily level is essential for complete healing. And dreams frequently initiate this release by dramatizing where emotional energy has become trapped in tissue and muscle. Like a map that marks the location of buried treasure, your body dream communication reveals where the real work of healing needs to happen. The specific individuals who appear in your dreams, particularly those who seem random or irrelevant to your current conscious concerns, carry important information about relational patterns and interpersonal wounds requiring attention. Dream characters often function less as literal representations of the actual people they resemble, and more as symbolic carriers of particular relationship dynamics, emotional qualities, or developmental periods. Research in social cognition and dreaming shows that when your mother appears in a dream behaving nothing like your actual mother, she might be representing the archetype of nurturing, criticism, or conditional love rather than the specific person. When a forgotten classmate from decades ago suddenly populates your dreams, their appearance likely connects to whatever interpersonal pattern was being formed during the era when you knew them. Your dreaming mind uses familiar faces as vocabulary for exploring wounds that exist between people rather than within individuals alone. Like actors cast in roles that require their particular presence but tell a story larger than their personal history. Dream figures serve the narrative your psyche needs to process. The landscapes, buildings, weather patterns, and environments your dreams construct are not random backdrop, but carefully selected psychological terrain that mirrors your inner state with precision. Research on dream settings reveals consistent symbolic associations. Houses frequently represent identity and family systems, with different rooms corresponding to different aspects of self. Basements and underground spaces typically indicate unconscious content, while attics suggest stored memories. Natural environments reflect emotional weather, storms for turmoil, still water for achieved peace, dense forests for confusion or exploration, vast deserts for emptiness. Research on recurring dream settings shows that the environments your dreams repeatedly construct point toward the psychological domains where your most active healing work is concentrated. When your dreams consistently place you in particular types of spaces, they are mapping your internal landscape with the accuracy of a cartographer who surveys by feeling rather than measurement. Like the set design in a film that tells you about the character's inner world before a single word is spoken. Your dream environments communicate volumes about where you stand in your healing process. Not all healing dreams arrive at the same volume. There exists a gradient of emotional intensity that provides reliable information about both your healing capacity and the depth of material being processed. Research on therapeutic process shows that early encounters with a particular wound tend to present in relatively mild, heavily disguised symbolic form. Your unconscious mind testing whether you can tolerate even indirect contact with the painful material. As your capacity grows, as internal resources develop, dreams addressing that same wound typically intensify, presenting more direct content and stronger emotional engagement. This gradual escalation mirrors what skilled therapists do, titrating exposure to ensure the client is never overwhelmed beyond their window of tolerance. If your dreams suddenly become much more intense, it usually means you have recently developed resources sufficient for deeper work. Conversely, if intense dreams abruptly soften, it might signal either successful integration or a protective retreat when external stressors have consumed your available coping reserves. Like a music teacher who gradually introduces more complex pieces as the student's skill develops. Your dreaming mind matches the difficulty of its assignments to your growing ability. The particular emotions that dominate your dream life serve as precise diagnostic indicators pointing toward the specific domain of wounding that most urgently needs your healing attention. Research in affective neuroscience maps each fundamental emotion to distinct adaptive challenges. Fear signals perceived threat. Sadness marks loss that has not been fully mourned. Anger indicates boundaries that were violated or power that was suppressed. Shame reveals wounds to self-worth and belonging. Guilt points toward value conflicts or harm you believe you have caused. Anxiety reflects pervasive uncertainty or perceived loss of control. When one emotional tone consistently saturates your dreams, it is highlighting the category of experience most actively seeking integration. Someone whose dreams are pervaded by shame requires fundamentally different healing work than someone whose dreams are dominated by unfinished grief. Your dream emotions are not decorative. They are diagnostic. Each one, a beacon illuminating specific territory where healing attention is most needed. Like a doctor who reads symptoms as a language pointing toward specific underlying conditions. The emotions in your dreams reveal what your deeper self needs most. Dreams frequently transport you to specific ages and developmental contexts from your past. And these temporal displacements provide crucial information about when the wounds requiring current attention were originally formed. Developmental psychology identifies critical periods when particular types of psychological injury are most likely to take root. Attachment wounds in early childhood. Identity wounds during adolescence. Intimacy wounds in young adulthood. Meaning wounds in midlife. When your dreams persistently place you in elementary school hallways or adolescent social landscapes, even though you are decades beyond those settings, they are indicating that the roots of your current emotional challenge extend into that developmental soil. Research shows that current adult difficulties often activate neural networks originally formed during these sensitive periods. And dreams reveal these hidden connections by literally placing you back in the era when the pattern was being written. Like discovering that a tree's current struggle with disease can be traced to damage sustained when it was a sapling. Developmental regression in dreams reveals the original wound site beneath the current symptom. Sometimes the most diagnostically significant aspect of your dream life is not what appears, but what conspicuously never does. If important people, places, emotions, or life domains are systematically absent from your dreams, that absence might represent the most heavily defended material. Content so threatening that even your sleeping mind's reduced defenses cannot yet grant it access. Research demonstrates that people often fail to dream directly about their most severe traumatic experiences, particularly soon after they occur, creating a void in dream content that paradoxically highlights the epicenter of wounding. Similarly, if you never experience particular emotions in dreams, never feel angry, never feel tender, never feel genuinely powerful, the absent feelings might be precisely what has been most thoroughly suppressed by waking defenses. Your dreaming mind's refusal to touch certain material is itself a form of communication, a silence that speaks as clearly as any image, like the outline left when something is removed from a dusty shelf. The shape of what is missing reveals exactly what once occupied that space. Your brain frequently employs physical injury, illness, and bodily damage as vivid metaphors for psychological wounds that resist direct expression. Dreams about bleeding often correspond to emotional pain that is leaking energy from your daily life. Dreams of broken bones may represent structural damage to your sense of self or support systems. Throat constriction in dreams frequently indicates suppressed communication, words you have swallowed rather than spoken. Research on somatic metaphor in dreams shows that the specific type of physical ailment typically corresponds with meaningful precision to the psychological wound being processed. Blindness represents denial or inability to perceive what is plainly visible. Paralysis reflects powerlessness or the experience of being trapped in circumstances you feel unable to change. Heart difficulties mirror the ache of emotional pain or the closing off of capacity for love. These bodily metaphors allow your dreaming mind to translate abstract psychological states into concrete, sensory experiences that can be processed through the body's own intelligence. Like a poet who describes grief as a stone in the chest or anxiety as electricity in the veins, your dreams use the body's language to make invisible wounds visible. When your dreams present the same general scenario repeatedly, being pursued, taking examinations without preparation, losing valued possessions, searching endlessly for something you cannot find, they are highlighting situations where your current emotional repertoire needs expansion. These recurring simulations offer practice opportunities, spaces where different responses can be attempted and tested without consequence. Research on simulation theories of dreaming suggests this rehearsal function represents one of dreaming's most fundamental evolutionary purposes. Each time you dream about being chased, you are working with patterns of avoidance and fear. Each time you face an examination unprepared, you are processing feelings of inadequacy and exposure. The scenario recurs not because you are failing to learn its lesson, but because the emotional pattern it represents has multiple layers, each requiring its own processing cycle. Resolution typically arrives either through a shift within the dream itself, standing your ground instead of fleeing, or through waking life changes that address the underlying issue the dream dramatizes. Like a musician who practices a difficult passage night after night, each repetition builds capacity that eventually makes the challenging section flow naturally. Your dreaming mind excels at placing recent emotional experiences alongside memories from your distant past, revealing connections that chronological thinking would never make. A difficult conversation today might trigger a dream that includes both the recent exchange and a seemingly unrelated memory from childhood. Your brain showing you that the same emotional current runs through both. Research on sleep-dependent memory consolidation confirms that the sleeping brain actively builds associative bridges between temporally separated experiences that share emotional resonance. This integrative work explains why your emotional reactions sometimes feel disproportionate to present circumstances. Your nervous system is responding not just to what happened today, but to the accumulated weight of every similar experience across your entire history. Dreams that juxtapose different time periods are offering you a map of these connections, helping you understand that your reaction to a current slight carries the energy of 1,000 similar moments stretching back through decades. Like discovering that separate streams on a mountainside all connect to the same underground aquifer. These time-bridging dreams reveal the hidden emotional source feeding multiple surface expressions. The degree of agency you experience within your dreams, whether you feel capable and empowered or helpless and passive, offers a remarkably reliable measure of your current healing progress and available psychological resources. Research on dream empowerment shows that early in the healing of significant wounds, dreams typically feature pronounced helplessness, inability to move, speak, defend oneself, or influence events. As healing deepens and internal resources grow, agency gradually increases within the dream space. You begin taking action, making choices, speaking truths, defending vulnerable parts of yourself, eventually perhaps achieving lucidity and conscious direction of dream content. These shifts in dream agency both reflect and accelerate waking life changes. The expanded capacity you discover in dreams, creating templates your waking self can draw upon. Research consistently finds that increases in dream agency precede rather than merely follow increases in waking life empowerment, like a bird testing its wings within the nest before its first real flight. The agency you develop within dreams prepares you for the empowerment you are growing into. Sometimes your dreams produce figures who help, guide, protect, or instruct you. And the emergence of these supportive presences marks an important development in your healing process. These helpers might take the form of specific people you know, archetypal figures like wise elders or protective animals, or mysterious strangers who offer precisely what you need at precisely the right moment. Jungian psychology interprets these figures as representing healing aspects of your own psyche, internal resources that exist within you but have not yet been fully accessed by your conscious self. Research shows that when helper figures begin appearing in dreams that were previously populated only by threatening or indifferent characters, it signals a significant shift in internal support and self-relationship. The wisdom these figures offer often reflects your own deeper knowing, finally breaking through defensive barriers into accessible form. Whether understood as aspects of self, symbolic guides, or simply useful dream elements, their presence indicates that healing resources are mobilizing within you. Like the first green shoots that appear after a forest fire, helper figures in dreams signal that recovery and renewal have begun beneath the surface devastation. The brain's predictive processing system, which continuously generates models of expected experience based on accumulated data, plays a central role in determining what your dreams address. Research in computational neuroscience reveals that the brain constantly compares incoming experience against its predictions, and emotional wounds create persistent prediction errors, gaps between what your nervous system expects and what reality delivers. These prediction errors generate the emotional charge that drives dream content. Unresolved grief creates prediction errors every time your brain expects someone who is gone. Betrayal trauma generates errors when trust templates no longer match relational reality. Your dreams work to update these prediction models, gradually revising expectations to incorporate what has actually happened. Each dream cycle reduces the discrepancy between your brain's model of the world and the world as it now is, like a navigation system slowly recalculating after a road has been permanently rerouted. Your dreams are updating your internal map to reflect the landscape that loss, change, or injury has created. The default mode network, a constellation of brain regions active during rest and inward-focused thought, shows dramatically increased connectivity during REM sleep and plays a central role in the self-referential processing that makes dream healing possible. Research using functional neuroimaging demonstrates that this network, which activates when you think about yourself, reflect on your past, imagine your future, or consider others' perspectives, becomes exceptionally active during dreaming. This heightened self-referential processing allows dreams to integrate emotional experiences into your autobiography, weaving wounded moments into the larger narrative of who you are and who you are becoming. The default mode network essentially allows your dreaming mind to ask, what does this experience mean for me, for my story, for my understanding of myself and others? This narrative integration is fundamental to healing because wounds that remain as isolated, uncontextualized fragments continue to generate distress, while wounds woven into coherent life narrative gradually lose their disruptive power. Like a historian who places a devastating event within the larger flow of a nation's story, your default mode network gives your wounds a place in your ongoing narrative where they make sense. We have traced the specific mechanisms through which dreams detect, diagnose, and address your healing needs. From emotional tagging that prioritizes unfinished business, to pattern recognition spanning your entire life, to body-to-dream communication that bypasses language, to the diagnostic precision of dream characters, settings, emotional tones, and developmental markers. Your dreaming mind conducts continuous psychological assessment using multiple channels simultaneously, identifying wounds with the thoroughness of a physician and presenting findings with the gentleness of a poet. Agency levels track your progress. Helper figures signal emerging resources. Prediction errors drive the content. And the default mode network weaves everything into the ongoing story of who you are. What might appear as random or disturbing imagery is actually a sophisticated healing intelligence at work, one that has been refined across millions of years of mammalian evolution to serve precisely this purpose. Allow yourself to rest here for a moment, floating between what you have already understood and what remains to be discovered. Imagine your awareness as a quiet lake at dusk. Thoughts may ripple across the surface, but the depths remain still, undisturbed, immensely deep. You do not need to hold anything from what you have heard. What matters will stay with you. What does not serve you will dissolve like morning mist. Feel the natural rhythm of your breathing. Each inhale, a gentle tide coming in. Each exhale, a tide going out. The shore of your awareness washed clean with every cycle. Somewhere beneath your thinking mind, your body is already doing its quiet work. Cells repairing, muscles softening, the chemistry of rest spreading through you like warmth through cold hands. You are exactly where you need to be. Nothing ahead requires your worry. Nothing behind requires your attention. Just this breath, just this moment, just this gentle floating, and whenever you are ready, we drift onward together. Evolution did not accidentally create a system that requires you to confront difficult emotions during your most vulnerable state. The mechanism evolved precisely because sleep provides conditions impossible to replicate while awake. Research from evolutionary psychology traces dream healing to ancient threat simulation systems that originally helped our ancestors rehearse responses to physical dangers during sleep safety. Over millions of years, this system expanded to encompass the emotional and social threats that became humanity's primary survival challenges. When you dream about rejection, betrayal, failure, or loss, you are running simulations using neural architecture evolved for exactly this purpose. Your modern emotional wounds, complex as they are processed by systems refined across geological timescales. Systems that have been solving the problem of integrating threatening experiences far longer than humans have existed. Like an ancient river that has been carving its canyon since before any creature walked the earth. The healing current in your dreams flows through channels deepened by time beyond comprehension. One of neuroscience's most transformative discoveries in recent decades is memory reconsolidation. The finding that recalled memories become temporarily unstable and modifiable before being stored again in their updated form. Research demonstrates that this process is especially active during REM sleep, where emotionally charged memories are retrieved, opened for editing, modified by new associations and perspectives, and then restored with their emotional charge potentially reduced. Each time your dreaming mind revisits a painful memory, it is not simply replaying the recording, but actively editing it, splicing in new associations, adjusting the emotional soundtrack, integrating information gathered since the memory was last consolidated. Over repeated dream cycles, traumatic memories can be gradually transformed, their factual content preserved, while their emotional intensity diminishes. This means your dreams can literally change the felt quality of your memories, making yesterday's anguish slightly more bearable today and progressively less sharp with each processing cycle. Like a rough stone tumbled in water over many seasons, each dream encounter smooths another edge from what once felt unbearably jagged. The neurochemical environment of REM sleep creates conditions for emotional processing that cannot be achieved during waking hours. Research by leading sleep scientists demonstrates that during REM periods, the brain is bathed in acetylcholine, while norepinephrine, the neurochemical most associated with stress and vigilance, drops to near zero levels. This extraordinary chemical profile means your dreaming brain can access emotionally charged memories and process them without triggering the fight or flight cascade that accompanies waking recall of painful experiences. You can remember without panicking, revisit without re-traumatizing, feel without becoming overwhelmed by the physiological storm that difficult memories normally produce. This is why dream-based processing achieves something that conscious reflection often cannot. It separates the emotional content of memories from the stress response, allowing the emotion to be processed while the body remains calm. Like a surgeon who requires the patient to be still in order to operate precisely. The neurochemical stillness of REM creates conditions where your brain can do its most delicate healing work. During waking hours, your mind deploys sophisticated defense mechanisms: repression, denial, rationalization, intellectualization, that serve the essential function of preventing you from being overwhelmed by more emotional reality than you can process, while simultaneously navigating daily demands. These defenses protect but also prevent healing by keeping painful material outside conscious reach. During REM sleep, these protective barriers significantly lower. The prefrontal cortex, commander of logical analysis and reality testing, reduces its activity substantially, allowing unconscious content to surface with far less censorship. Research shows that material your waking mind would immediately deflect, suppress, or explain away can emerge in dreams precisely because the usual gatekeeping mechanisms are offline. This is why dreams can reveal truths you have worked hard to deny, feelings you have successfully suppressed for years, and connections you have actively avoided recognizing. Your dreams address healing because sleep creates the only conditions under which your full emotional reality can be safely encountered. Like a city that can only repair its underground infrastructure when the streets above are quiet, your deepest healing requires the reduced traffic of sleep. Your mind is governed by what researchers call the Zeigarnik effect, a persistent cognitive tendency to be preoccupied with tasks left incomplete and experiences that remain unresolved. Emotional wounds represent the most profound form of incompleteness your psyche can encounter. Unfinished grief. Truths never spoken. Questions never answered. Goodbyes never properly given. Experiences never fully integrated into your understanding of yourself and the world. Your mind is fundamentally drawn toward resolution and completion. And this drive operates most freely during dreaming, when the inhibitions and distractions of waking life have dissolved. Research confirms that unresolved issues generate intrusive waking thoughts during the day and reliably dominate dream content at night. Your dreams return to unhealed wounds not because they are malfunctioning, but because your mind literally cannot rest while significant emotional incompleteness remains. This completion drive is as fundamental to your psychological architecture as hunger is to your biological architecture. Like water that will always find its way to the lowest point. Your unconscious mind flows persistently toward whatever remains unfinished, seeking the resolution that represents emotional equilibrium. Dreams provide an environment where emotional responses can be practiced, boundaries tested, and alternative behaviors explored without any real-world consequences. If you confront an abuser in a dream, there is no retaliation. If you express rage that waking propriety forbids, there is no social fallout. If you allow yourself complete vulnerability, there is no exploitation. Research on simulation theories emphasizes this consequence-free rehearsal as one of dreaming's primary evolutionary functions. Your dreams let you experiment with emotional possibilities your waking self considers too dangerous, too embarrassing, too costly to attempt. Each rehearsal builds neural pathways and emotional capacities that remain available when you return to waking consciousness. After expressing dream anger multiple times, you might discover unexpected capacity for setting boundaries while awake. After practicing dream vulnerability, real-world intimacy might feel slightly less terrifying. Your dreams serve as a training ground where the emotional skills healing requires can be developed in safety before being deployed in the unpredictable arena of actual life. Like a pilot who masters emergency procedures in a simulator before facing them in actual flight. Your dream rehearsals prepare you for emotional challenges you have yet to fully face. Contemporary waking life provides catastrophically insufficient time for the emotional processing your psychological health requires. You move from demand to demand, screen to screen, obligation to obligation, rarely pausing to metabolize what you have experienced before the next experience arrives. Sleep, particularly the approximately 90 to 120 minutes of REM sleep most adults accumulate each night, represents dedicated processing time that your waking schedule denies. Research on sleep's cognitive functions confirms that sleep is not merely rest or recovery, but the brain's primary opportunity for emotional housekeeping, the only period when processing can proceed without competition from incoming sensory data and ongoing task demands. Your dreams address healing because sleep is literally the only time your overwhelmed brain has to do this essential maintenance properly. In a culture that treats sleep as negotiable, your dreams carry disproportionate responsibility for emotional work that earlier humans might have distributed across contemplative waking hours. Communal storytelling, ritual practices, and slower-paced daily life. Like a night shift crew that must complete all maintenance during the few hours the factory is quiet. Your dreams work intensely during the limited window sleep provides. Dreams communicate primarily through visual imagery and embodied sensation rather than verbal language. And this non-verbal format offers distinct healing advantages for material that was never stored in words to begin with. Language is sequential, logical, bound by grammar and the limits of what consciousness has already categorized and named. Visual and somatic experience can hold complexity, ambiguity, paradox, and multiple simultaneous meanings that verbal processing must flatten into linear narrative. Research in trauma therapy, particularly modalities like EMDR and somatic experiencing, confirms that healing frequently requires engaging the non-verbal processing systems where traumatic experience is actually encoded. Much of what wounds you was never linguistically processed in the first place. It was stored as image flashes, body sensations, emotional surges, spatial disorientation, soundless terror. Dreams naturally operate in these same non-verbal dimensions, gaining direct access to material stored in the formats where it actually lives. Like a translator who speaks the local dialect rather than the official language, your dreams communicate with wounded parts of you in the tongue. Those parts actually understand. Dreams abandon the linear logic and causal reasoning that govern waking thought, operating instead through associative connections, symbolic relationships, and emotional resonance. Two experiences that share no logical relationship whatsoever might be profoundly connected emotionally. And dreams reveal these hidden connections through juxtapositions that rational analysis would reject as nonsensical. Research on creative problem-solving during sleep demonstrates that dreams can identify solutions that eluded waking analysis precisely because they are unconstrained by conventional logical frameworks. When addressing healing, this associative operating system allows dreams to perceive patterns, connections, and meaning structures that exist beneath the surface of rational understanding, organizing experience by emotional theme rather than chronological sequence or causal chain. The apparent absurdity of dream logic is not error but a fundamentally different way of processing information. One optimized for the kind of pattern recognition and emotional integration that healing requires. Like a poet who discovers truth through metaphor that logical argument cannot reach, your dreams use their unique grammar to express what linear thought must leave unsaid. Healing often requires the simple yet profound experience of being witnessed, of having someone see your pain, acknowledge its reality, and confirm that you are not imagining or exaggerating what you feel. Dreams provide a unique form of self-witnessing that complements the witnessing others can offer. In dreams, you simultaneously inhabit your experience and observe yourself experiencing it, watching your dream self navigate fear, grief, anger, and vulnerability with a kind of dual awareness. Research in therapeutic psychology identifies witnessing, being fully seen in one's emotional truth, as essential for healing shame and the isolation wounds create. In dreams, you become your own compassionate observer, watching yourself struggle and survive with a perspective unavailable during the original wounding, when you were too immersed in the experience to step back and see. This self-witnessing creates psychological distance that is inherently therapeutic, allowing you to hold your own pain with something closer to compassion than judgment. Like reading your own diary from years ago and feeling tenderness toward the person who wrote those words. Dream self-witnessing cultivates a relationship with your own suffering that makes it bearable. One of healing's most essential processes involves transforming fragmented, disorganized traumatic memory into coherent narrative, constructing a story that makes sense of what happened and integrates it into the larger story of your life. Research on trauma treatment consistently identifies narrative integration as a central mechanism of recovery. Disconnected sensory fragments, emotional surges without context, body memories without associated meaning. These are what unhealed trauma feels like from the inside. Dreams participate in this narrative construction by replaying traumatic material in varying sequences, from different perspectives, with different details emphasized. Each iteration contributing to a more complete and coherent account. Over many dreams, what was once a shattered collection of overwhelming fragments gradually assembles into a story with beginning, middle, progression, and meaning. This narrative integration moves traumatic memory from the brain's alarm system, where it triggers constant reactivity, into autobiographical memory, where it becomes a chapter rather than an emergency. Like assembling a mosaic from scattered tiles that initially seem to have no connection to each other. Your dreams gradually reveal the picture that was always there, waiting for enough pieces to be placed. We have explored why dreams specifically address healing during sleep, and the architecture of this nocturnal healing system reveals itself as both elegant and comprehensive. The unique neurochemistry of REM sleep allows emotional processing without stress response. Lowered defenses permit access to material consciousness blocks. The completion drive ensures persistent attention to unresolved wounds. Consequence-free rehearsal builds emotional capacities safely. Dedicated processing time compensates for waking life's insufficient reflection. Non-verbal channels reach where language-based processing cannot. Associative logic discovers connections rational thinking misses. Self-witnessing provides the therapeutic experience of being seen, and narrative integration transforms fragmentary trauma into coherent story. Each mechanism addresses a specific requirement of healing that waking consciousness alone cannot meet. And together they create a processing system of remarkable sophistication. One that operates every night of your life, whether you cooperate with it or not, whether you remember it or not, whether you understand it or not. Let your thoughts dissolve now, like ink dispersing in deep water. There is nothing to figure out, nothing to remember, nothing to solve. Your dreaming mind already understands everything we have discussed. Not as concepts, but as living processes it performs every night. Feel your body becoming heavier, as though the earth is gently gathering you closer. Your eyelids, if they are still open, may notice that they want to close. Let them, or let them soften halfway. Neither open nor shut, just resting. The boundary between waking and sleeping is not a wall, but a gradient. A slow dissolving, like twilight that never announces the exact moment day becomes night. You may already be drifting through that gradient now. That is perfectly fine. More than fine. It is exactly what you were designed to do. We have a few more gentle truths, and then you can release entirely. Your dreams do not generate the pain you feel during sleep. They surface genuine emotional experience using the identical neural circuits and neurochemical systems that process emotions during waking hours. Brain imaging studies reveal that the emotional centers of your brain, particularly the amygdala and associated limbic structures, are actually more active during REM sleep than during ordinary waking consciousness. When you dream about something that needs healing, you are not merely thinking about feelings, but living them fully, processing them with the same neurological reality as any waking emotional experience. This is why you can wake from a dream with tears on your face. with your heart hammering, with relief flooding through you, or with grief sitting heavy in your chest. The emotional work accomplished in dreams is genuine work, demanding real psychological energy and producing authentic integration that carries forward into your waking life. Your dream emotions deserve the same respect and recognition you would give any feeling experienced with open eyes. Like exercise that strengthens muscles whether performed indoors or outside, emotional processing strengthens integration, whether it occurs in dreams or waking life. What healing actually means when wounds are psychological rather than physical involves not erasing or forgetting, but integrating, taking fragmented and overwhelming experiences and weaving them into your life narrative in ways that reduce their disruptive power while preserving their lessons. Research in clinical psychology emphasizes that emotional healing transforms the relationship between you and your painful experiences, rather than removing those experiences from memory. Healing means a memory that once triggered panic now produces sadness you can hold. It means a loss that once felt like annihilation now feels like grief you can carry alongside other feelings. Dreams participate in this integration by repeatedly exposing you to difficult material in modified contexts, allowing you to encounter what wounded you from varying angles, with graduated emotional intensity, and with the reduced threat response that sleep's neurochemistry provides. Healing through dreams resembles a slow alchemical transformation rather than surgical removal. Each night's processing converting a thin layer of raw pain into something your wider self can absorb and incorporate, like compost transforming kitchen scraps into rich soil over patient weeks. Your dreams convert the waste products of difficult experience into material that can nourish future growth. Your brain maintains what researchers describe as an emotional processing queue, a continuously updated inventory of experiences carrying unresolved emotional weight that awaits nighttime attention. Studies demonstrate that the brain tags emotionally significant experiences for preferential reactivation during REM sleep, with coordinated activity between the amygdala and hippocampus, suggesting active reorganization of emotional memory during these periods. When you encounter something emotionally significant, whether confrontation, loss, fear, shame, or even joy that could not be fully felt in the moment, that experience enters this queue and waits for processing. If your waking hours provide insufficient opportunity or psychological safety to fully digest these emotional events, they accumulate, building a backlog that your dreams methodically work through each night. The things appearing in your dreams are not necessarily what you consciously think about most, but rather what carries the greatest unresolved emotional charge. Like a hospital emergency department that triages patients by severity rather than arrival time, your dream processing queue prioritizes what needs the most urgent emotional attention. Many of the experiences that wound you most deeply never announced themselves clearly to your waking awareness. Your conscious mind deploys elegant defense mechanisms: repression, dissociation, rationalization, minimization, that can keep painful realities hidden from your own recognition for years or even decades. You might construct detailed justifications for avoiding certain people, places, or topics without ever recognizing the buried emotional injury driving those avoidances. Research from leading universities demonstrates that dream content regularly includes material that individuals actively suppress or deny during waking hours, because the sleeping brain has access to the complete emotional record, uncensored by the protective filters your waking mind maintains. This is why you might dream about events or feelings that seem to emerge from nowhere. Situations your conscious mind insists are resolved or irrelevant. Your dreams know what still needs attention, even when your waking self has officially moved on. The dreams that surprise you most, the ones that seem to have no connection to your current life, are often the ones reaching deepest into defended territory. Like a doctor who can detect illness before symptoms become obvious to the patient. Your dreaming mind identifies wounds your conscious awareness has not yet acknowledged. Emotional wounds do not confine themselves to the mind, but embed themselves throughout the body as persistent tension patterns, chronic pain, altered hormone profiles, suppressed immune function, and disrupted physiological regulation. Decades of trauma research, including groundbreaking clinical work on body-centered approaches to psychological injury, confirms that traumatic experiences create lasting changes in bodily systems that operate independently of conscious memory. Your dreams frequently reflect this somatic dimension of wounding and healing, presenting scenarios involving physical constraint, bodily transformation, unusual sensations, or vulnerability that represent the physiological imprisonment unprocessed emotional experience creates. When you dream of being unable to move, of your body behaving in ways that feel alien, or of physical injury that does not correspond to any waking trauma, these images often address the somatic component of emotional wounds, the way your body still holds what your mind may have released. Complete healing requires attention to both the story of what happened and the bodily memory of how it felt. And your dreams bridge both dimensions simultaneously. Like a message written in two languages at once, your dreams speak to both mind and body in a single communication. Your healing dreams do not arrive randomly, but follow rhythms connected to your waking life circumstances, external triggers, and developmental readiness. Research on dream patterns reveals that healing-focused dream content tends to cluster around periods of heightened life stress, meaningful anniversaries of significant events, developmental transitions, and encounters with environmental cues that activate associated memory networks. Your brain assesses your current capacity before determining what healing material to present, waiting for moments when sufficient psychological resources exist to engage with difficult content productively. During acute crisis, dreams might focus on immediate emotional regulation rather than deeper wound processing. But when life stabilizes, even slightly, when you feel even marginally safer than before, healing dreams often intensify as your unconscious mind recognizes an opening for deeper work. This is why people sometimes experience waves of difficult dreams after leaving harmful situations or during active therapy. The increased safety paradoxically unlocks material that danger kept sealed. Like a surgeon who waits for the patient to be strong enough before attempting a complex procedure, your dreaming mind times its interventions to your capacity. Dreams rarely present their healing material in literal form, preferring instead to dress difficult content in symbolic clothing that makes it tolerable to approach. A wounded animal in your dream might represent your own injured vulnerability. A house with sealed rooms might symbolize parts of your experience you have compartmentalized to survive. A storm might represent emotional turbulence you have been refusing to acknowledge. This symbolic language serves a profoundly protective function, creating sufficient distance between you and raw emotional material to prevent overwhelming contact while still permitting meaningful processing. Research in dream analysis suggests that symbols act as psychological buffers, allowing you to engage with the emotional pattern of a wound without being directly exposed to its most triggering specifics. As healing progresses and your capacity to face difficult truth increases, dreams often become progressively more direct, reducing symbolic disguise as your tolerance grows. The evolution from heavily symbolic to more literal dream content itself serves as a marker of healing progress, like approaching a fire gradually, getting close enough to feel warmth without being burned. Symbolic representation lets you draw near to painful truth at your own pace. Nightmares. Those dreams that feel least like healing and most like assault are paradoxically among your brain's most therapeutically active processing events. Research on nightmare function reveals that recurring nightmares represent your brain's most determined and persistent attempts to process emotional material that has resisted integration through gentler means. Each nightmare is essentially a practice encounter, an attempt to master overwhelming content through repeated exposure within the relative safety of sleep. The intense distress you experience during nightmares is not new damage being inflicted, but original, unprocessed emotion finally reaching a venue where it can be worked with. Nightmare rescripting therapy. Among the most effective treatments for trauma-related nightmares, succeeds precisely because it demonstrates that nightmare content is malleable and fundamentally oriented toward resolution, not punishment. Your worst dreams are not evidence of brokenness, but of your brain's refusal to give up on integrating what has been too difficult to face through other means. Like a search and rescue team that keeps returning to the disaster site when others have abandoned hope, your nightmares persist because something within you refuses to leave any part of yourself buried under emotional rubble. Your dreams about things you need to heal do not occur in isolation, but participate in a continuous cycle with your waking psychological life. Each domain advancing the work, the other begins. Research on trauma processing reveals that the most effective healing involves alternation between conscious engagement with difficult material during waking hours and dream processing during sleep, followed by new insight upon waking that enables deeper conscious engagement, which in turn feeds more productive dream processing. Dreams advance what therapy or personal reflection initiates. Waking insight advances what dreams uncover. This is why many therapeutic approaches encourage dream journaling. Not because every dream's specific content requires decoding, but because the ongoing conversation between waking and dreaming minds accelerates integration in both directions. When you remember a healing dream and reflect on it even briefly during the day, you are completing a circuit that amplifies the healing effect exponentially. Your dreams and your conscious reflection are not separate processes but partners in a continuous loop, each one deepening what the other contributes. Like two hands washing each other, your waking and dreaming minds heal most effectively when they work together. Not all healing dreams arrive dressed in pain. Some come bearing peace, joy, empowerment, tenderness. And these positive dreams heal just as powerfully as their more difficult counterparts. Research shows that positive dream experiences build new emotional associations that actively compete with and gradually counterbalance negative patterns established by wounding. If your waking experience has taught you that you are unworthy of love, dreams where you are cherished provide neurological counter-evidence. If life has instructed you in powerlessness, dreams where you are capable and strong plant alternative possibilities in neural soil where only helplessness previously grew. These positive dreams are not escapist fantasies, but genuine corrective emotional experiences that reshape your brain's expectations about what is possible for you. Your dreaming mind uses positive imagery as healing medicine, prescribing experiences of joy, safety, and belonging to a psyche that may have learned to expect only their absence. Like sunlight reaching a plant that has grown in shadow. Positive dreams illuminate possibilities your wounded self had stopped believing existed. Adequate REM sleep is not merely beneficial for emotional regulation. It is essential, as fundamental to emotional stability as food is to physical energy. Research measuring emotional reactivity before and after sleep demonstrates that a single night rich in REM dreaming significantly reduces the intensity with which you react to emotional situations the following day. Conversely, people deprived of REM sleep show markedly increased emotional volatility, heightened anxiety, amplified threat perception, and diminished capacity for nuanced emotional processing. Each night of dreaming performs a kind of emotional recalibration, adjusting your reactivity levels, processing the previous day's accumulated emotional charge, and preparing your emotional system for whatever tomorrow brings. When you dream about difficult experiences, your REM sleep is actively stripping away layers of emotional intensity from those memories, making them progressively more manageable and less likely to trigger disproportionate reactions. Your capacity to dream and your capacity to maintain emotional equilibrium are not merely correlated, but causally linked. Like the ballast that keeps a ship stable in rough water, your nightly REM processing keeps your emotional vessel from capsizing under the weight of accumulated experience. Attachment injuries. Those early wounds formed in relationships with primary caregivers that shaped how you fundamentally relate to others and to yourself, represent some of the most commonly recurring themes in healing dreams. Research from attachment theory demonstrates that insecure attachment patterns create enduring vulnerabilities around themes of abandonment, rejection, inadequacy, engulfment, and trust that influence every subsequent relationship. Dreams frequently replay these attachment dynamics, presenting scenarios where you were left behind, where you search desperately for someone who has disappeared, where you reach towards someone who will not respond, or where you are rejected by figures whose approval feels essential. These dreams typically address the underlying emotional pattern rather than the specific individuals appearing in them, using familiar faces as shorthand for particular relational configurations. When you dream about losing someone or being unable to connect, you are often processing wounds that predate the specific relationship the dream appears to reference. Like a river whose current course was determined by the landscape it first carved through millions of years ago, your adult attachment patterns follow channels shaped by your earliest relational experiences. Grief, in all its forms, represents one of the most universal themes in healing dreams, and the progression of grief dreams often follows recognizable developmental stages that mirror the larger arc of mourning. When you lose someone, whether through death, separation, estrangement, or the subtler losses of growing apart, your brain must undertake the enormous task of updating its internal model of reality to reflect their absence. Research on bereavement dreams shows that early grief dreams frequently feature the lost person as present and alive, reflecting the brain's difficulty fully accepting the new reality. Later, dreams might include awareness of the loss within the dream itself, or present scenarios of farewell and transition. Over extended periods, grief dreams typically evolve toward acceptance, often featuring the lost person in peaceful contexts or as a supportive, even protective. Presence. Your dreams help you maintain connection while simultaneously processing separation, holding both the love and the loss without requiring you to choose between them, like a harbor that both shelters boats and allows them to depart. Your grief dreams create space for holding on and letting go simultaneously. Some of the most corrosive wounds involve shame, that particular quality of pain that attacks not what you did but who you are. The belief that you are fundamentally flawed, defective, or undeserving of belonging, unlike guilt, which says your behavior fell short. Shame whispers that your very self is insufficient. Dreams working on shame frequently stage scenarios of exposure, humiliation, being watched and found wanting, failing spectacularly before audiences, being rejected by groups whose acceptance you desperately need. These dreams feel excruciating precisely because they engage the core wound directly. Yet research in clinical psychology consistently demonstrates that shame loses its power when brought into awareness and examined rather than perpetually avoided. Each time you dream of being exposed and survive the dream, each time the catastrophe shame predicts does not actually destroy you. Your brain accumulates evidence against shame's fundamental lie. The very dreams that feel most humiliating are slowly building your immunity to shame's toxicity, like gradually increasing exposure to something you are allergic to. These small dream encounters with shame systematically reduce its ability to trigger the devastating emotional cascade it once commanded. Anger in dreams, especially for those who have learned to suppress it in waking life, can serve as one of the most powerfully healing emotional experiences your sleeping mind offers. Research demonstrates that chronically suppressed anger contributes to depression, anxiety, somatic complaints, and relational dysfunction. Yet many people carry cultural, familial, or traumatic prohibitions against expressing this vital emotion. Dreams create spaces where forbidden anger can finally surface, where you can confront people who hurt you, fight back against those who violated your boundaries, protect your younger self from those who should have protected you, all without the social consequences or physical danger that originally required the anger's suppression. Children who could not safely rage at harmful caregivers, people who had to appease abusers to survive, anyone from contexts where certain expressions of anger were met with punishment or withdrawal of love. All may find in dreams the first safe venue for feelings that have been imprisoned for years or decades. The healing comes not from acting on anger, but from finally allowing yourself to feel it fully. Like a pressure valve that prevents a system from exploding by releasing accumulated force in a controlled manner. Dream anger discharges what suppression has dangerously compressed. When the same dream or recognizable dream theme persists across months or years, returning with the faithfulness of a season, it signals emotional material that has not yet achieved the integration it is persistently seeking. Research on recurring dreams demonstrates that they characteristically cease once the underlying issue reaches resolution, either through therapeutic work, life changes, or sufficient dream processing itself. A person might dream of being chased regularly until they develop the capacity to face what they have been avoiding. Someone might dream of public exposure until shame's grip loosens enough to tolerate visibility. These recurring patterns are your unconscious mind's way of communicating that a particular wound still requires attention, that the processing is ongoing but incomplete. Rather than frustration at their repetition, you might hold recurring dreams with something like gratitude for their persistence, recognizing in their faithful return the evidence of a healing system that refuses to declare the work finished until it genuinely is. Like a devoted teacher who presents the same essential lesson in new ways until the student truly understands. Recurring dreams are expressions of patience and commitment from the part of you that will not rest while important work remains undone. We have traveled the full circle of this exploration, and the answer that was present from the very first word has finally come fully into view. Your dreams return to unhealed wounds because your psyche is fundamentally oriented toward wholeness. Because your unconscious possesses diagnostic wisdom your waking mind cannot access. Because sleep provides neurological conditions no waking state can replicate. And because the drive toward completion, embedded in your psychological architecture, will not rest while significant fragments remain unintegrated. But beneath all the mechanisms and explanations lies something simpler and more profound. Your dreams return to what hurts, because something essential within you cares enough about you to keep trying. Night after night, year after year, with patience that puts conscious determination to shame. Every nightmare is devotion in disguise. Every recurring theme is commitment wearing persistence as its clothing. Every confusing, painful, the beautiful dream about things you need to heal is your deepest self reaching toward your surface self with the truest message it knows how to send. You are not broken. You are being tended to. You are not alone in your pain. Something within you has been sitting beside it all along. And so tonight, as you drift toward sleep, you can release the vigilance. You can stop trying to manage your healing or hurry it along. Your dreams will continue their work, as they always have, as they always will, with wisdom older than language and love deeper than anything your conscious mind can fully comprehend. If this gentle exploration helped you relax tonight, a quiet like or subscribe helps other resting minds discover this peaceful space. It takes only a moment, but it means everything. One small gesture, one sleepy soul at a time. But nothing is required of you now, absolutely nothing. You have traveled deep tonight, further into understanding than most hours could carry you. Let everything you have heard begin to soften now, dissolving like sugar in warm water, becoming part of you without requiring any shape or structure. Feel your body releasing its last held tensions. The small muscles around your eyes, the space between your shoulder blades, the subtle grip in your jaw. Let gravity hold you completely. You do not need to hold yourself up anymore. If sleep has already begun to take you, surrender to it gratefully. Let it carry you like a wide, slow river carries a fallen leaf, without effort, without direction, without resistance, into the quietest waters you have ever known. Your dreams are waiting for you there, patient as always, gentle as always, devoted as always. They know exactly what you need. They have been tending to you since the very first night you slept. Trust them tonight. Trust the darkness that heals what light cannot reach. Trust the silence that speaks in a language older than words. Rest well, dear dreamer. Your healing has not paused for a single night of your life, and it will not pause tonight. Fall asleep to gentle facts, where science meets sleep. Dream deeper with bedtime science. Good night.